Here today. I'm Chris Bryan, spokesperson for TransLink. Last winter, we had extraordinary weather in Metro Vancouver. It caused great challenges for commuters, whether you're traveling by vehicle or traveling with us on transit. TransLink did a good job of keeping people moving, as you may recall, but there's always room for improvement. This year, we're preparing for the worst. We continue to have great practices and procedures in place that we've used for many years, but this year we're adding some new features to help address winter challenges. Today we're at the SkyTrain Operations and Maintenance Center, where we'll be hearing from Mike Richard from SkyTrain and Don Palmer from the Coast Mountain Bus Company, who will each share some of the things that their respective companies are doing to address winter weather. We'll also talk about what customers can do to prepare for winter. We're all working in this together. And then when we finish, we'll take some questions from media. So without further ado, I'd like to pass things on to Mike Richard, Vice President of Operations for SkyTrain.
Thank you, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, we're working on a number of items at the rail group to help us prepare for winter weather this winter. We know that many people rely on transit when the roads get snowy and icy, and we're doing our best to make sure that we provide the best service we can for the people who do turn to us. As everyone knows, there's no two snow events that are the same. The conditions vary, and the experience that we have on the rail system, things change section by section, area by area, and we have to react differently into various different levels of conditions and operations. But as things get worse, we have to adjust our service accordingly, and that's the reality that we all have to face. We fully review every snow event, and we look for improvement opportunities. A few lessons were learned last year, and we've done our best to address them. On the Expo and Millennium lines, we've developed special train schedules that will allow us to maximize the longer trains in certain areas of the track on the system, depending on the conditions being experienced. In extreme conditions, we may slow down the trains to keep a consistent spacing and stopping distance between the trains. We are working with our partners at the bus company to improve the coordination of snow clearing at transit exchanges, stations, and bus loops. We're also working with an arborist to review the trees within 10 meters of our guideway. We're also doing the same through coordination with CP Rail for West Coast Express. And on Canada Line, our partners of the operating company are in the process of installing heat tracing and power rail cover boards on their power rails to prevent ice buildup that was experienced last year. And of course, we also continue with all of the other things that we've always done in the winter to keep our system service safe and reliable, such as turning off track intrusion detection systems and putting staff on trains. Their purpose is to watch for obstructions. We'll run trains through the night to keep the tracks clear of snow accumulations. We take precautions to make sure that our track switches stay clear of ice and don't freeze. We de-ice our power rails and power collector assemblies to ensure that we don't have ice buildup. And we also set up icing stations, de-icing stations on the tracks in the tunnel and covered areas to ensure that snow doesn't build up underneath the cars. Our program is robust, and we do our very best to keep the system moving, even when airports are closed and people are asked to stay off of the streets due to extreme conditions. Most important, though, I'd like to acknowledge the great staff that we have in both the rail company and the bus companies. Without their dedication and support, there's just no way that we'd be able to provide any level of consistent service when it comes to snow. That's all I have, Chris. Turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to pass things over now to Don Palmer, our Vice President of Operations for Coast Mountain Bus Company, who will share some of the things they're doing this year that are new.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning, everyone. At the bus company, we know we're often the first leg of our customer's journey. We're often the ride to the SkyTrain station. So we're working hand in hand with SkyTrain to make sure we're all prepared for the winter weather. We too are doing a few new things this winter and also continue to plan for wintry weather in ways that work for decades. Tire socks for our bus tires is something we've been trying out this year. Our crews have been testing them over the past few months and are hopeful they'll perform well in snowy conditions. We plan to do a trial of the socks on Burnaby Mountain routes if conditions reach a certain point. We'll install them at Production Way University Station on 4 buses that will serve as shuttles up the mountain. When SkyTrain service is disrupted, we often set up shuttle buses to transport passengers from affected stations. This year, the locations to pick up these buses and signage have been improved to ensure they're easy to find and use. We're also making better use of the ticker text inside buses to let customers know about these kind of service changes or disruptions. Heavy snow sometimes means we have to close specific bus stops. We've made some changes to our CAD EVL software so that notification of bus stop closures will be more efficiently and effectively communicated to our customers. We're also meeting with municipalities to coordinate our service with their priority corridors for snow clearing, and we'll stay in close contact with them throughout the winter season. HandyDart faces unique challenges in winter weather as they are a door-to-door service. To ensure customers get safely to and from the vehicle, HandyDart provides 2 operators on each bus during severe weather. They have also contacted day programs to discuss clearing pathways, salting or sanding to ensure safe access. And they are proactively reaching out to customers with driveways or access routes that are difficult to manage in the snow. That covers some of the new items for this year, as well as our tried and true winter plans. So I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Thanks, Don. And as you can see, we spend a lot of time thinking about these kind of things and ways that we can improve what we do for our customers. Getting them from A to B is very important to us. And we're doing our best this year to prepare for whatever Mother Nature might throw at us. We're not alone, of course. We need to work with our customers to ensure that they're safe and they get where they need to go in comfortable fashion. So there's just a few things we want to leave you with for our customers. Know before you go is a great thing to keep in mind. So check with our trip planner when you're planning your routes. It'll show you up to the minute what's happening with those specific routes that are affected. Also, if you can sign up for our alerts, that's always a great thing to do. You get up to the minute information about bus routes all across the region. And Twitter, as always, is a great place to look. The TransLink Twitter account will provide you that kind of information as well. Dress warmly, make sure your shoes have good grip, and of course, make sure you're visible. This is getting into the dark time of year with daylight savings. Finally, give yourself extra time. Buses on the roads are they're subject to the same conditions as everyone. They can be late, there will be delays if the weather gets rough, and transit is often what people turn to when the snowy weather hits, so it will likely be busier as well. So we've covered some of the things we do already, some of the new things we're doing, and we've talked about some of the things for our customers to keep in mind. With that concluded, we can now open things up to questions. Just please indicate with a hand and I'll try and get to you in order. So starting with Jordan Armstrong from Global News.
Question with tire socks. Why not snow tires?
Okay, we'll put that one on to, this is John Leskowicz.
Yes.
What's your title?
Jonathan Leskowicz, Maintenance Engineering Manager.
Okay.
Spelling it?
Yeah.
Last name or first name?
Both.
Jonathan spelled Jonathan. Leskowicz is Leskewich.
Tire socks, but why not snow tires?
The tire we run is actually a snow-rated all-weather tire, and it actually carries the mountain snowflake symbol that is recommended by the province of BC for snowy weather conditions. This tire comes recommended to us by the tire manufacturer as the best tire to run in these conditions. The tire sock is a traction device, and actually if you guys want to ask more questions about that, I do have my engineer here that's running that program.
Can you spell his name too?
Sure. Morning.
It's Simon Agnew, so SIMONAGNEW. And so the tire socks are a blanket device that gets wrapped over the tire. Very easy. Sorry? Okay. So, okay, so it's a very lightweight, portable design, very easy to install. So that was one thing that really attracted us to them. And it's basically a blanket that gets installed over the tire, and it's made up of Kevlar threads that run along and around the tire. And how they work is when with the weight of the bus pushing down on them, they basically increase the contact surface area between the blanket and the snow or the ice that you're running on. So, yeah, we're looking at these as whenever the road conditions become severe enough that buses are having a hard time going up and down the SFU hill. As Don said, we're going to run a trial where we're going to install these on a select number of 40-foot buses, and we're going to see how they hold up. It's a pretty new technology, especially for transit buses. So, but we're really optimistic about them.
We'll provide a full demo of the tire socks shortly. But you had follow-up questions?
This is just on the SFU buses. So
Yeah,
not across
that's
the
just a pilot project right now.
We had a question over here from Roundhouse.
Yeah, I was just wondering with the Canada line last year with the snow, it had a lot of problems. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on what's being done to make sure the Canada line runs smoothly?
Sure. Mike Richard, Vice President Operations for SkyTrain.
So Canada Line last year, the biggest issues that we had were really with ice buildup on the power rails. They collect their power from the top of rail, whereas our SkyTrain cars collect from the side. And through the February period where it was really cold, we had anywhere from an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches of ice build up on top of the power rail. So the collector shoes weren't able to draw the power necessary to propel the car. So what we're doing now is we're installing heat tracing, which is essentially a wire and element that provides a level of heat that prevents the ice from forming. So ideally we turn them on, keeps the top of rail warm, and ice won't form. We don't have that ice buildup that affected us so badly last year.
And if we get that amount of snow, do you think that's going to hold up?
The snow wasn't our problem. It was the ice that was our problem. Okay, the snow, as long as the snow's in the track and we keep trains moving, we can blow the snow away. It's when things start to freeze on top of these rails. That's what the issue was for us last year.
Jennifer Saltman from the Vancouver Sun.
Related to that, are you guys using, I can't remember if it's glycerin or glycol, on the power rails for Canada Line and the regular trains as well?
Yes, we use glycol on the Expo Millennium line. Canada Line use a different product called Kill Frost. It's a derivative of glycol, but they don't have as much exposed area as we do in our system, so we need a different product that adheres a little bit better and distributes a lot thicker.
So does that go in conjunction with the warming for the rail?
Absolutely. And it's all conditions based, so depends on what the forecasts are and what the humidity is, what the low temperature, whatever. We'll run them, and we run them as we need them. We don't run them just to run them. We don't just spray this stuff all over the place.
Over here, camera.
Talk about the brass brake shoes you're going to instead of the other ones.
So we have, my name is Chris Morris. I'm Director Engineering Assets at SkyTrain. We have two kinds of power collector shoes on my left here. You see the regular carbon ones. They're actually reinforced carbon. We run them pretty much 8 months of the year, but in winter when conditions get rough, we switch to the brass shoes here. They're not actually solid brass. They're a brass framework still with the carbon in between. The carbon provides a lubricating effect on the power rail so as not to wear it too fast. But they're very effective when you're combining with glycol. If you simply ran with the pure carbon, you'd end up wearing the carbon. It virtually dissolves in the glycol if it's just used all the time. So the brass provides that winter good contact.
Any other questions? Another one from Jen Saltman from Vancouver Sun.
Last year you guys said that part of the problem was municipalities not clearing bus routes. You mentioned you're talking to them, but how is that different from what happened last year?
I'll put Don Palmer, Vice President Operations for Coast Mountain Bus Company.
Sure. The one thing that we're doing different this year, so in previous years, is we went to the municipalities asking them to plow key routes. This year, right after the last winter season, we started meeting with the municipalities on an individual basis, and we're taking their priority routings and we're overlaying them with our service map now, and we're finding some key corridors that will be able, in each municipality, at least be able to get people moved north, south, east, and west, and get them as close to the SkyTrain station as possible. So we're not adding to the list of individual municipalities, but we're working with their priority list.
So you're doing snow routes, I guess.
Correct.
There's a question back there. CTV.
Were you guys content with the snow clearing in the municipalities last year, or would you like to see a little bit more robust clearing? And also, I know parked cars by the sides of streets were a big problem. I don't know if bus drivers found that as well, that cars ended up staying in place for months because they were never moved out of the snow. Just wondering if anyone had any comments about that.
Well, I think the municipalities did everything within their power. We recognize that everyone has limited resources, especially with the type of winter that we had. Parked cars on the side of the road, I mean, it's just something that we have to deal with. As drivers can't get around, they're pulling the vehicles over. Our bus operators are professional. They navigate around them. We try to make, operate as safely as possible. But this year, I think with the new initiative that we're taking, where we're focusing on particular snow corridors, I think it's going to be a pretty significant improvement from last year.
Okay, any other questions over here? Sorry, outlet?
11:30. I know you guys can't predict when it's going to snow, but how long is this pilot program going to work for the socks? And do you then expect that we might see those socks put on other buses? Like I know Canby had a lot of trouble, buses getting up there. Would we see socks on buses this winter?
Yeah. So you're saying when would we see snow socks expanded to other areas as well? Tire socks. Okay. I'll put that on to Don Palmer for that one.
So we're gonna pilot the. You want to speak on this one? Sure.
Yeah, sure. So right now, it's, as we said, it's just a pilot project. Having such a large fleet, obviously, if we were to expand it to all the buses, that has a lot of other consequences that would need to be accounted for. So right now, we just want to see how well they work, and then we're going to take it from there. Yeah.
Thank you. Were there any other questions before we wrap up this portion over here with Roundhouse Radio?
Yes. Sorry, just wondering if we could talk about, because last year with the snow too, the buses had trouble in going up and down hills in places like South Surrey around Burnaby.
Yeah.
Just wondering, how confident are you guys that if the snow is properly cleared, that those buses can make it up and down hills?
So you're saying there are other problem areas across the region where there's hills, and how?
Buses slipping down hills last winter. Just wondering if you could talk a little bit about how this winter you might.
So if we encounter similar conditions, how we're confident are we that we'll be able to get through these areas?
Yeah.
Well, I think for that question, I mean, I think that kind of was addressed through Don working with the cities individually. Anything else that?
Getting creative with what you have.
Speaking to that, I think probably myself. Maybe Don. Maybe you can speak to the bus end of things. But you talking? Is it going to cost us more to do some of these initiatives we're doing?
A big check to make this all happen, or is this the stuff you have in the warehouse?
Oh yeah, these are all within the existing budgets that we have now. Yeah, we are talking about some costs related to it, but it's all within existing budgets we have to deal with these things. Question over here.
Yeah, we have a question online, and somebody's wondering if buses will be able to reroute if there are trouble spots during the snow.
If buses would be able to reroute if we have trouble spots during the snow, we actually do rerouting on a regular basis when we deal with snow. And when John's talking about snow corridors, that would be a very extreme situation, but that would require significant rerouting of buses. It's something we do all the time. Thank you very much for the questions. We will now adjourn and have some demonstrations beginning with this tire sock.